Welcome to the UFC Fight Night 134 post-fight show. My name's Flying Brian J. Thank you so very much for joining me. My first question to you, as always, is what post-fight rating would you give this entire night or day of fights? A fight card that ended in fantastic fashion with Anthony Lionheart Smith getting a first-round TKO finish over the legend and UFC Hall of Famer, former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Mauricio Shogun Rua. But before that, 9 fucking consecutive decisions. I was questioning my own decision to watch this fight card that started at 9:30 in the morning my time and got over like 4:15 in the afternoon. It's a long day of fights. There was a stretch where between Darko Stoic versus Jeremy Kimble that ended in the first round that I went and did some grocery shopping for my wife. Came back, hardly missed a thing. Incredible, but like in a negative sense. Yeah, thanks John Raff and Synchronic 7. Dirty, I don't want to call you that. Rob, I got the audio fixed. I will later on come back and shrink the video so that actually starts where we've got some audio. I was fucking with the new setup here. I don't know what it looks like. Just seeing what I could get done. Rob Amon, earlier I tweeted something that was directed to you, Rob, because on this fight card, Mark Diakiese lost to Nasrat Hakparas via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. And Mark Diakiese is now on a 3-fight losing streak, and I kind of referenced to you that he might be getting cut. But first, let's talk about the main event and what post-fight rating we would give this entire card. My post-fight rating, if we're going A to D. We're going 1 to 5. I'm going 1.25. 2, maybe. I'll go with a 2 just because the Nebraskan got that finish in the main event. But there's not a lot that we need to talk about on this post-fight show, guys. We're going to hang out for a bit just because I've missed you all. It's been 2 weeks since I've been here. And there are some things that we need to talk about in this fight card. But yeah, I'm going with a D or a 1.25 or a 2. Synchronic's going with a 6 out of 10. That's pretty damn high, man. Danny going with a 3. Rob's going with a 1. Right, yeah. Sorry, Danny, I couldn't think of your first name. I know it, and I got it before I read it on the comments. I got it. So in the main event, Anthony Smith came out there. He seemed calm, cool, collected as he's walking to the cage. His cornermen were just saying, "This is your time, Anthony Smith. This is the Smith show. This is the Lionheart show." And he's just smiling as he's walking to the cage. As he walked out to a Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison, which was pretty dope. And then when Mauricio Shogun Rua made his walkout, Smith looked at the Megatron or Mega screen and was like, "Yeah." He smiled and he's like, I feel like in his head, he's like, "I'm about to knock out a legend." When the fight started, Rua, of course, moved forward. Smith was moving back, caught Rua with a left hook. Rua was like, "Oh shit, I got hit. I have to charge even harder." Smith was backing away from it, and he backed himself against the fence, kind of bounced off of it, hit him with a right hand. Rua backed away, was trying to catch his bearings. Smith hit him with a couple of combinations, got him against the fence, slashed him with an elbow, got him a huge cut right over his temple. And basically that shut Rua's lights off, and Smith hit him with a couple of more punches. As Mark Goddard came in to save Rua, Rua's face was just spewing blood all over it. And then in the finishing sequence when they were, Goddard was about to raise Smith's hand, Bruce Buffer came up and was like, "Dude, you got some blood on your face," and was going to wipe it off. And Smith was like, "Hey, you can have my shirt if you want to wipe it off. It's kind of sweaty, though." And Goddard's like, "Nah, I'm good, fam." And the doctor came over and got him cleaned up. But interesting little sequence of events there. Then after that, of course, Dan Hardy was like, "Hey, you won. What's up? Tell me something about it." Generic post-fight interview type of shit. Smith was like, "I got 3 daughters and a fiance, so I fight for them." Neat and everything. And then Jimmy Manuwa was cage side, and Dan Hardy was like, "Hey, do you want to fight Jimmy Manuwa?" Basically, like, "Hey, call him out." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I like Jimmy. He hits hard and he's fun and everything, but Alexander Gustafsson needs an opponent in in California or something. And I'm going to be that man. And I say, yes, let's do that. Sounds fucking great. I cannot believe that Smith is now 31-13, I believe. And he's just coming into his own. Seems strange that you could be that late into your career, have that many fucking fights. He's listed as 31-13, yeah, 44 total fights. And he's been knocked out 7 times. And he just seems to be coming into his own. I think this, he just recently came to light heavyweight. Excuse me one sec. Ooh, sorry about that, guys. Rob's going with an F. Wasn't the best, but it entertained Synchronic 7. He says they can't all be great. Plus, it wasn't 3 a.m. I guess yeah. So I would have given it a higher grade, perhaps if it was on a Saturday night. But honestly, so not that you guys care, but we'll talk about it because that's what I do here. Treat you like you're my friends. Last night was like the biggest event in my town in a year span. It's called Cruise Night. And every year it's a big party and stuff. And I wasn't planning on doing anything. I was going to go to sleep like 8 o'clock, feel refreshed, get up and watch this fight card, But my parents came. My sister's in the hospital. My parents came and we went to see my sister. Then my parents invited some of their friends over to my apartment and we started drinking beer. And then my brother was like, hey, I'm in town for Cruise Night. You want to have a beer? And I'm like, I guess. And then next thing I know, I need to go to sleep and I'm kind of inebriated. So today's been a slow day for me. Anyway, so I wake up for this card. Started long fucking time ago. And it wasn't that great. It wasn't that memorable. So I'm going with that super low rating. Rob Amon wants for Anthony Smith to fight Yoel, the Soldier of God Romero, in the Soldier of God's 205-pound debut. Oh, no. I don't like that. I don't like it. Nope. Nope. Because I think that the Soldier of God would just run through Smith. And I don't like that because Smith's from Nebraska. Synchronic 7, I love the fact that Hardy always asks who they want next instead of what is next. Yeah, it's a subtle difference, Synchronic. That's a great point. Not what is next for you. They're like, oh, I'm going to take vacation. I'm probably going to go get a massage. No. That's not what I meant. Basically, I'm saying, who the fuck are you going to fight next? Call someone out. This is for your career. It's going to help out. Here's a microphone. You're going to help yourself out. Tell me something nice. Here you go. Your time to shine, brother. Anyway, so yeah. Fantastic bit there at the end of the main event. And if it weren't for Shogun coming into this fight on a 3-fight winning streak for the first time since he fought in Pride, I would be like, we probably need for this man to retire. Perhaps that's also true. But man, what could possibly be next for Mauricio Shogun Hua? Here's an idea for you. The guy could probably make 185 pounds. Oh, wait, the Dragon signed with Bellator, didn't he? Son of a bitch. I was going to say the Dragon. Some time off. And then, I don't know, fight Sam Alvey or something. Shogun versus Glover in a retirement fight, says Rob Amon. Loser versus loser. Love it. Do it. Book it. Done. Are they friends? I don't know. Let's move on to get your what the fuck of the card ready, my dudes. The WTF moment of the card. This is always the most fun part of the show. I wish I had I need a little animation to happen, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and then somebody's just like, what the fuck? The what the fuck moment of the card for me might be really, really early on the card. But light heavyweight fight, Darko Stoic versus Jeremy Kimble. Kimble had hit Stoic with a right high kick. It welted his head up a bit. And Kimble seemed to be doing decent on the feet. He was loose. He was hitting with a lot of power. It wasn't taking that much damage from Stoic. Stoicic? I don't know how to say this guy's name. And then Kimble's like, you know what? I'm going to go in for the worst takedown attempt ever. Got put on his back, mounted, and then just boop. So, not even mounted. He was in full guard. Just ate some elbows and just called it a day. What the fuck? Also, what the fuck the card could go to Alexander Rachac versus Justin Ledet, the strike differential was goddamn massive. Let me pull up the stat here. 263 total strikes for Rachac, and 28 for Ledet. 104 significant for Alexander, just call him Alexander. 12 for Ledet. What the fuck? And it seemed like many a times Alexander could have finished this fight and he didn't. If you go to UFC.com and they've got the stats next to the fight that's happening, and it said there's a strike differential meter. You go like the red corner has so many more strikes than the blue corner has so many more strikes than the red corner. The blue corner, Alexander, had obviously like 235 more than Ledet. No, 235 more than Ledet. But the little meter, the little stat thing only goes to 100. So it fucking maxed out. How often does it max out? Oh, Synchronic 7 says, which ref? Was it Mark Goddard? Well, this could possibly be a what the fuck of the card, but probably not going to be. During Marcin Tybur versus Stefan Struve was on the bottom, and people always talk about how good Struve's guard is, how good this guy is at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then he's on his back for a long time, and he mostly just was hanging out there. But he goes for an armbar attempt. He spins, and he goes for it, and he gets his toes caught in the fence. And Goddard's like, nope, stop, fuck you. You lose the armbar position because you put your toes in the fence. And it's like, the toes in the fence didn't help the submission attempt. And how are you going to take away that position, that moment, just because the guy got his toes stuck in the cage? Like, I don't know, fucking, I'm not very I don't have that much dexterity in my toes. I couldn't, like, finagle them to be in certain places. They just kind of help me walk, and they're there for me. So, like, I don't know. I don't feel like he purposely put his toes in the fence. I don't think it was going to help him get that arm bar, and I don't think that he should have taken the position away from Stefan Struve because it happened to him. So, sure, you could give a what the fuck of the card to Mark Goddard if you really wanted. Also, just what the fuck? How did blood spew off of Hua's face onto Goddard's? That's what the fuck? Mixed martial arts, right? Oh, it's a crazy sport that we watch. Let's see. Anyway, let's talk about the co-main event of the evening, I suppose. Corey Anderson basically wrestle-fucked Glover Teixeira. There were times when Corey Anderson hit Teixeira with some really good punches. He actually landed 48 significant strikes, so those are strikes that happen on the feet. Some good uppercuts, like Gustafsson hit Teixeira with, and it just gets him right there, and Glover's like eyes roll back. He did the stanky leg a little bit. There was a time when Corey went for a takedown attempt, and Glover got him in a guillotine, and I thought, oh, Glover's going to get this. Oh, shit, Glover's going to... No, didn't get it. But essentially what it came down to is Glover's gas tank wasn't that full. His hands are kind of slow. And Corey Anderson is the younger, fresher, more mobile, better conditioned fighter that had the takedowns. And we saw this possibly coming from a mile away. What's up, Richard Berghughes? Haven't seen you in a while, my dude. Are there any photos of the blood on Goddard's face? No, not that I know of. We'll have to... I'll try to look and find it, but... Ooh. So Shamrock FC just tweeted about... They heard that we don't like decisions. And it says, we had 8 finishes on our fight card, including a wild KO that was featuring... something. Featured on Bloody Elbow and whatnot. Well, anywho. So... Corey Anderson, what could be next for him? He said that he thought about taking the Gustafsson fight on short notice, but he's not going to do that to his wife and kids or his family, essentially. He said he's going to take a little time off, take a little vacation, spend some family time, and that right there just opened the door for Anthony Smith to come in and fight Alexander Gustafsson. So thanks for doing that for us, Corey Anderson, and you're welcome, Anthony Smith. But what could be next for Corey Anderson? He said that he might want some rematches down the line, which basically... He's really upset that he lost to Ovin St. Preux. He said that he started working on his boxing and his mental focus during fights because the reason he lost to OSP was because he had a lapse in his judgment. So, I don't know. He just beat the number 3 light heavyweight in the world. What the hell's Volkan Oezdemir doing? Yeah, Rob Amon says Latifi versus Anderson next. That could be interesting because I don't think... Yeah, I actually like that fight a lot. I was just thinking that I didn't want to do that. They might just wrestle each other the whole time. There could be fun scrambles, but Anderson's chin is so weak. I would definitely pick Latifi via knockout. There's that. What's up, new viewers? Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. We're right now just talking about the co-main event of the evening where Corey Anderson defeated Glover Teixeira 30-27 across the board. Not really worth talking about too much. Before that, Abu Azater defeated Vitor Miranda via 30-27, 30-27, 29-28 decision. Azater had really... He's a powerful dude, and he was just kind of battering Vitor Miranda. Miranda got some really good takedown attempts, and he was even working on an arm triangle choke where he was trying to do it from the full mount instead of passing to the opposite side control with the triangle choke in position. And then Azater just powered right out of that. And Abu at one time Vitor was moving from... He was going knee on belly to pass to mount, and Azater just like fucking powered him over and put him on his back. Miranda looked hurt a few times. He looked frail, sort of. I remember him looking really muscular and just shredded, but he just kind of looked frail in this fight. And Abu, maybe we could see big things from him in the future at middleweight, but he didn't look like a huge middleweight. What I found interesting, and we could add this to the what the fuck of the card, is that Abu Azater has 1 million followers on Instagram, I heard. I still need to check it out. I'm not huge on the Instagrams. It's not really my thing, but I got to see what kind of Instagrams this guy has and why he's so popular. So, great debut by him. Before that, Marcin Tybura versus Stefan the Skyscraper Struve. This came down to Struve couldn't stop the takedown of Tybura, essentially. Struve used his range decently at times. He hit Tybura with a front kick to the face, which was awesome. I was like, oh, are we actually going to see something neat here? And then Struve didn't have the footwork to get away from the forward pressure and takedown attempt of Tybura. Tybura put him on his back, and there we go. We already talked about the submission attempt that was warded off by Mark Goddard, essentially. And then what I didn't get either was between the rounds after Struve was going for that armbar attempt against Tybura, Struve was like apologizing to Mark Goddard for doing it. And it's like, but you didn't do it on purpose, so stop like feeling so sorry about it. What's next for Marcin Tybura? I was thinking that we should give him to Stipe Miocic. You know, kind of get Stipe an easy win, and then move him right back into the title picture. Is what I was thinking. What do you guys think about that? Think that's a good idea? I was thinking that the winner of this fight would fight Stipe Miocic no matter what, but coming into it. So I still have that in my mind, and I think I like that a lot. Or I don't know what else we could do. What else could we do with Marcin Tybura, guys? He lost to Fabricio, he lost to Derek Lewis, he beat Arlovsky, Henrique, and Pesta, lost to Timothy Johnson. So a lot of options for Marcin Tybura at the top of this division. Volkov, maybe. So, or Francis Ngannou. We could get Francis Ngannou a win against Tybura if we wanted. So either Miocic or Ngannou versus Tybura next, and that's what I want to do. Yeah, Rob Amon says Tuivasa. That's also another good option. But Tuivasa, he's on an upward climb anyway. I was just thinking about getting some of these high-profile guys, Miocic and Ngannou, a win because I think that they would beat Tybura, and stylistically it would be a decent match. But onward we go. Danny Roberts defeated David Sawada, split decision, 27-30, then 29-28, 29-28. I thought it could have been 29-28 either way. I don't see a 30-27 for Sawada. But Sawada was doing some really good work with submission attempts on the ground. It was a lot of fun in the scrambles there. Probably the fight of the night, but it's crazy that the fight of the night still wasn't that memorable. Like, I don't have the itch to ever think about that fight again, even though it was probably the best fight on this card. Danny Roberts showed decent ground and pound. Rob Amon says Struve versus Ngannou. I suppose. No. Loser leaves town. Ngannou's not going anywhere. Struve might have to go someplace. I don't feel like we should give... I mean, that would be a huge confidence booster for Ngannou against Struve. But I don't want to do that to Struve. I say we give him some lower tier person. I don't know. I don't have much to say about Roberts versus Sawada, like I thought I would. At the end of the fight, they showed a lot of respect for each other. Danny Roberts called out Neil Magny at the end of that fight. So Neil Magny was the co-main event to Darren Till versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at UFC Liverpool in May. And Roberts said that he saw Magny there and he wasn't impressed by him. And he said, "You and me, let's get it, buddy." And then, or he didn't say let's get it, but he said let's fight. And then what I thought was weird was after that, Dan Hardy was like, "Oh, Neil Magny's gonna get it," like Danny Roberts is Dan Hardy's buddy, and he's like, "Oh, my friend's gonna beat you up." It was strange, but anyway, yeah, I like the idea of that fight. All right, finally, Wikipedia told me the actual time for the main event finish at 1:29. So under a minute and a half it took Anthony Smith to defeat Shogun. So his last two victories are first round finishes, and they total of less than 3 minutes. Now, I think Danny Roberts versus Neil Magny sounds fine. And Rob Amon suggests that we give Danny Roberts the Sage Northcutt. But, man, Mike Perry is campaigning for a fight against Northcutt, and I love it. I say let's do it. Both guys are raw and green and young in their abilities. We got Northcutt, who's a freak athlete. You got Perry, who hits super fucking hard, and then just the polarization that you have in their personalities. Northcutt's like a "thank you, sir, thank you, yes, ma'am," and Mike Perry's over there dropping the N-word because Tyron Woodley told him he could, and he's got tattoos on his faces, not on his face. He only got one face. He's got tattoos, one face. Strange. It's just like clean-cut guy versus a thug almost. And I think that's just intriguing right there. That's what I want to do with Sage Northcutt. But I digress. Nasrat Haqparast versus Mark Diakiese. Mark Diakiese cannot do well when he's being pressured. And Nasrat Haqparast did that. He took away the space for Mark Diakiese to do his spinning techniques and his long kind of looping punches and kicks. And Haqparast just hit him with solid punches. And it seemed like whenever Haqparast would land on Diakiese would lose a little bit of his gumption, lose a little bit of his awareness, consciousness, and Haqparast really showed out on him. I was thinking that Haqparast should fight someone like Des Green next. And the reason I say that is coming into this fight, Haqparast was like the number 164 lightweight in the world or something, and he defeated the number, what number was he? Like 50 or 46? And Diakiese, what was it? Oh, Diakiese's in the top 50, and Haqparast was 154, whatever. And I liked it. I like that Haqparast got this victory. He showed a lot of promise. He's only 22 years old. He showed improvements from his last fight. But against Marcin Held, he had difficulty defending the takedowns and the grappling, of course, of Marcin Held. And Des Green, he's a really good grappler. He's a grindy type of fighter. And he's in the top 50, I think. So Nasrat versus Des Green, I think it sounds great. And Rob Amon, of course, I knew he would be here to cut Mark Diakiese. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, but I say we don't cut him. He is an exciting fighter, and if we just give him the opportunity to, I think he'll get cut after his next fight, but I want him to see I want him to fight Lando Groovy Venata. Just stylistically, it's fantastic. Both guys are dudes that need to spin. They got a lot of spinning techniques. They don't do well when they're pressured. They both have decent grappling. Mark Diakiese, he's got some slams and some suplexes in his back pocket that he showed in his fights. He showed in his UFC debut, and he showed on the regional scene. And Venata has a background in wrestling. He just is so flowy and exciting with his striking that we always forget about his grappling. But I want to see Mark Diakiese versus Lando Venata. Do it. Boom. And also Nasrat Haqparast, if not Des Green, then Bobby Green. So I want him to fight somebody green next. Rob's saying that we could have Diakiese fight a debutante if he stays on the roster. I think clearly he's not going to be a top-tier UFC fighter ever. So let's just put him in one exciting fight before he leaves. Rob Amon has Venata fighting Alex White next. Also, when I was trying to match up Haqparast, I thought, why the hell hasn't James Krause fought since December? And why is he like 112th best lightweight in the world? Seems odd to me. Anywho, Damir Hadzovic versus Nick Hein was the last fight on the prelim portion of this card. Nick Hein has not finished a fight since September of 2013, and he just does he's got decent hands. He's kind of sharp, but he just throws like the same combination over and over again. He's got decent pop, but even when he might pop somebody, but he doesn't ever go in for a kill. He won't ever expose himself to being finished. And I felt like he was winning on just like fundamental. I'm gonna land just like one more strike than you. Like you throw a combination, and I'm gonna throw a combination and land one more than you against Hadzovic in this fight. Which, Gesundheit, Hadzovic. It sounds like a sneeze. But Hadzovic was the one landing the harder punches. They were the ones that were fucking Nick Hein's face up. Hadzovic got a jab on Nick Hein a whole bunch, and it was making his eyes swell up, and he might have like broken his orbital bone or something. But Hadzovic was just on him with that, and he got the decision victory. He has got pretty hard punches, and he did knock out Marcin Held, but that was a wild deal. Anyway, I don't know what's next for Hadzovic. I didn't look at that. But anywho, before that, Bartos Lubinski defeated Emil Weber Mech. So Weber showed like no fight IQ and no direction. He came into this fight and he just had no sense of what he wanted to do. He came in and he fucking threw a flying knee at Lubinski right away, like the flying sidekick that Fabricio Verdum does. But we knew coming into the fight that Mech needed to avoid the takedown of Lubinski, and he needed to do it early too, because if he did it early and he got some punches on Lubinski, he could make Lubinski tired, and then maybe the war of attrition, Lubinski's takedowns would get worse and worse as the fight goes on, like they did, but he would have a better standing right off the bat. But he comes out with this flying knee attempt, so it just like gave Lubinski his legs, and then Lubinski spends the entire first fucking round on top of him, making him tired, and just he put himself in a bad place right off the get go. And Rob says that Mech should get a debutante next, I suppose. And Lubinski needs to be moving up the welterweight ranks. He's on quite a streak right now, isn't he? What's crazy is the dude doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but he's got at least 3 UFC victories. Yeah, he's got 3 UFC victories, all via decision. Yeah, there you go. Nad Naramani versus Khalid Taha. I didn't watch the fight, really. I'm going to be honest with you, so I skipped it. Before that, Alexander Rachac versus Justin Ledet. Rachac was taking Ledet down and just battering him on the ground. Ledet didn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge of how to get off of his back or even push Rachac? I'm sorry, Alexander off of him. He just kind of got battered on the ground on the feet too. Ledet, he landed a couple of good jabs that snapped Alexander's head back, but Alexander was the one hitting with the harder shots, and And Ledet just, like, he had no idea what to do. Before that, Manny Bermudez versus Davy Grant. Bermudez dropped him early, got him on the ground, and went for an armbar, turned it into a triangle choke. Tried a couple of submission attempts, and then made him go to sleep. Shortly after, Davy Grant gave a thumbs up to say that he's not in the submission. 5 seconds later, he's sleeping. Bermudez, in just 59 seconds, finished Davy Grant. Before that, we already talked about Darko versus Kimble. And bantamweight was the opening fight of the night. Pretty entertaining. Lu Pingyuan versus Damian Stasiak. 30-27, 29-28, 29-28 for Lu Pingyuan. Oh, Davy Grant should absolutely be cut. Absolutely, 100%. Grant's gone. I think we got to cut him. Pingyuan he's not that great off of his back and defending takedown attempts, but he's got big power on the feet, and he also doesn't throw in combination. So he was hitting Stasiak with some power shots, and he was enjoying his time in there, but they were coming one at a time. Where there was a kick or a punch, just one. And he wasn't looking to string them together. But he was still hitting with the harder strikes, and I think it was fairly even. I believe it was fairly even. Pingyuan he's not that great. Ooh, I hear myself talking there. Well, I guess that's the whole entire card. What would we do for post-fight bonuses? I really don't think there was a fight of the night. I guess if we're gonna do fight of the night, we'll give it to Danny Roberts. Should I write anything about this fight down? No, I didn't really. Sawada came in as the number 233 welterweight in the world. For a large portion of the fight, he was putting it on Danny Roberts. On the ground, he was doing really well. And yeah, fuck. If we're gonna have to, we'll give that fight, Roberts versus Sawada. The post-fight bonus for fight of the night, I guess. But knockout of the night or performance bonus obviously is going to Anthony Smith. And then Manny Bermudez is getting $50,000 too. But really, what I would do, I would just give out 3 bonuses. Normally, I give out 5 because I like to go above and beyond because I'm not actually giving anybody my money. But this time, I would just give Smith $50,000, Bermudez $50,000, and Stoic, Darko, $50,000, and I only give out $150,000 rather than $200,000 because the fight card sucked. Most of the fights went to a decision, and I don't really think there was a fight of the night. What do you guys think? Synchronic, Rob, Ricky.
Man, I'll get a flight from Hamburg to LA if that's what we need to do. So it's on you, my friend.
Anthony Smith backstage with the UFC afterwards says that he'll get a direct flight from Hamburg to LA if that's what he needs to do to fight Alexander Gustafsson. So he said it's on you, Alexander. So at UFC 227, Alexander Gustafsson is to be determined. That is happening on August 4th. And of course Smith, so that's in 2 weeks. No. Yeah. Yep, 2 weeks. I say do it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to see if I can see. I'm trying to find the actual post-fight bonuses, if there is any. If there are any. Okay, Smith definitely got 50 G's. No soup for you. Anthony Smith, Bermudez, Danny Roberts, and David Sawada. All right, so the one fight I thought was fight of the night, got it, and then we're good. Like I said, the post-fight rating for me is a D. Failing grade, really. If it's in college, you get a D, you fail. High school, you get a D, pass. Failing grade for me, essentially. And that's pretty much the entire show. So I know I wasn't that entertaining this time. We didn't have a lot to talk about. I didn't talk a lot about the technique, but I was checked out for a lot of this fight card. I just didn't have that great of a time. But I am excited about the possibility that because of this night, this day, Smith might fight Alexander Gustafsson. I'm pumped for it. The kid's from Nebraska. He's from like the same town where my wife grew up. Okay, well, before we get out of here, Ariel Helwani just tweeted, and it was first reported by MMA junkie John Morgan. Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson is dealing with a minor undisclosed injury, sources say, and he has officially been ruled out of UFC 227. So I just said I was excited that we came out of this fight card with possibility of Smith versus Gustafsson, and now all of a sudden, that's gone. So, okay. Well, that's a hell of a note to end the fucking post-fight show on, but that's what we're going to do. I'll be back next week with my top 3 fights to watch at UFC on Fox 30, which is headlined by Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier. Co-main event, Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stevens. You also got Ioana and Jacek versus Tisha Torres. Alexander Hernandez versus Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Oh my God, that is an amazing main card. Woo! I'll be back next week with that video, and I'll also be back. Oh yeah, Rob Amon says Yoel Romero for Anthony Smith. That opens the door for that. But I'll also be back next week, and we will do a post-fight show for sure, and I might do a main card hangout. So let me guys know what you want for my content next week. Hit me up on Twitter at FlyingBrianJ or on Facebook at FlyingBrianShow, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hug your loved ones. I'm going to, the rest of my life, I'm going to try to hug the people I care about more often. I grew up like not really a hugger, but my grandma passed away like a week or so ago. And my cousin told me that he was going to start hugging people more. My sister's in the hospital. So I'm a hugger now. So just hug your loved ones, essentially, and have a great day. Peace.